Welcome to Four Thoughts of Our Founders, the podcast for the Higher Education Leadership Foundation. I am Herman Felton, one of the co-founders of the Higher Education Leadership Foundation, and I'm also president and CEO of Wiley College, home to the great debaters in Marshall, Texas, the first historically Black college west of the Mississippi. Health, this foundation was created to ensure the leadership pipeline of our nation's historically Black colleges and universities remain replete with highly disciplined, skilled, and principled leaders. Since 2015, we've intentionally sought out leaders at every level who were committed to simply doing the work. And this podcast perpetuates those very ethos, and even more by exposing the intelligentsia within the space to the broader populace. Tonight, boy, do we have a treat tonight. I'm pretty excited because the progeny of this space is here with us. Jaleel Thurman, CEO and founder of Yard Talk 101. What's going on, brother? Welcome.
What's going on? What's going on, Doc?
Not much. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. I see you looking good with the suit at the New York Yankees. Fitted, okay.
I'm just being me, brother. I'm just being me. Travis P. Jackson.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And CEO of HBCU Pride Nation. Welcome, brother. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. Thank y'all for the opportunity.
Oh, no problem. We're happy to be here with you, brother. And last but not least, Torrance Reed, co-founder of HBCU Wall Street. Welcome, my brother. How you doing this evening?
I'm amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love it. The progeny of the HBCU Incubator, inspired, influenced, and fed by the village. Gentlemen, I want to thank each of you again for joining us tonight. And before we get started, you guys are sort of like the how could I say this? The Snapchat, the Twitter, and the Instagram to our audience, and we're the Facebook crew for you young fellas. So I want you to take a minute to introduce yourselves. Tell them which of the gems that you were forged by the fire at, and tell us a little bit about your companies. We'll start with Jaleel.
All right, so a little bit about myself. I am Jaleel Thurman, CEO and founder of Yard Talk 101. I am from the Chicago, Illinois, and I am a graduate of the illustrious, the amazing, the home on top of the hill, the Virginia State University, the true orange and blue. Yes, Trojan Nation.
Is there another orange and blue out there that's a shot? Because that sounds like shots fired.
It's just a couple of them, but we're not gonna worry about those.
Okay, all right.
Like Morgan State, Savannah State,
But no, mass communications major, former SGA president, member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, founder and CEO of Yard Talk 101, executive producer and host of HBCU 101. Entrepreneur, just jack of all trades.
Thank you, brother. Torrance?
Sure. Torrance Reed, here by way of DC, born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, graduated from the reigning #1 HBCU in the country for the last 5 years in a row, Mr. Thurman.
Yes, sir.
That would be North Carolina A&T State University.
Okay, Aggie Pride up in his piece.
Yes, Aggie Pride. MIS major, right? More so jack of all trades in the tech world. My life is software and computer based, right? Co-founder of HBCU Wall Street, HBCU Realty, and anything else that's meant to push the fiscal progression of the HBCU community and all its stakeholders.
Thank you, brother. Travis, Why don't you introduce yourself to the older population?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am D. Travis P. Jackson. I am a graduate. I'm gonna say it in a real SGA way. Um, I am D. Travis P. Jackson, a graduate of the illustrious North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and got my degree in public relations, spring 2011, in HBCU Pride Nation. What we do, we connect the HBCU to you, and we produce dope merchandise. We do some social media advertising and marketing, speaking, events, and we connect alumni all over the world just to tell the story of HBCUs and the achievements that come from it. So we are happy to be here today.
Happy to have you. Today we're talking about the village, right? Or the
Yes,
product,
sir.
the products of these institutions that were born out of distress, necessity, need, sheer desire, so many different ways that we can tell our stories. And what is common between all of them was that there was this intention for some of us to fail, some of our institutions, and despite of that, we have risen and we continue to rise. I want to talk first about the village. What was it like to be at the village, to be progeny of the village? Because people talk about what makes HBCUs different, and I always posit that it's that secret sauce that happens in the village. Let's talk about some of the stuff that happens in the village before we get into your entrepreneurial endeavors.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Um, the village. Um, I think just first off, I'm gonna start where I'm at now and go backwards, right? A lot of people talk about their progression, right, from start to finish. For me, I think when you come into yourself as an adult, I know I did, right? I realized, man, like A&T fortified who I was,
Hmm.
right? And you don't realize that in the midst of it, right? You don't realize the accelerated maturation that has to happen, right? You don't realize how much of a man you're becoming very quickly until you get out here in life and those things start to hit you in the face. Or, as Mike Tyson say, right? Everybody got a plan until you get punched in the face,
Right.
right? Well, A&T taught me that the A&T taught me how to duck, basically,
Yeah.
right? So, that was basically what my village did for me. It basically kind of just perpetuated what I had been living as a young Black man in America, right? There's just no situation that I haven't encountered that I don't have, a solution for.
So you're talking about the situational awareness. You're talking about the soft skills, that you have to learn in dealing with the folks at the financial aid office or dealing with professors, figuring out how to really capture, how to navigate the spaces without, acting in a certain way, right? So that's what you're talking about, right, Torrance?
Right, correct. Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Jaleel?
Um, well, I'll say first and foremost, Torrance and Jaleel are very significant members of my village as it pertains to the HBCU space
Mhm.
because we all started together. But our brands, and everybody knows you don't talk about Jaleel, you don't talk about Torrance, you don't talk about the people that's in my village, right? But also when it comes to North Carolina A&T State University, I was A&T took me from a caterpillar stage to a butterfly. Took me from rags to riches as well in terms of mindset. And then when I got to A&T, everybody knows that you'll meet my voice before you meet me because I'm very loud. But it's always about wanting to see the best in people. And then also, I'm a very big connector and a networker as well. So being able to be a voice for like students because I was in SGA, I was in campus activities boards, and I did a lot in terms of leadership. The advisors that I had, the administration such as Chancellor Stanley F. Battle, and Chancellor Harold L. Martin, I made sure that they were a part of my village and I was a part of theirs as well. And then when you think about homecoming from A&T, which is the biggest homecoming in the world,
Mhm.
that's when HBCUs that's when HBCUs come together. And really from an A&T standpoint, that's when you see a village even more. Um, and then HBCUs in general, when you enroll in one, Dr. Felton, you basically a part of all of them.
Yeah.
Because we fight for one another, we understand the legacy of one another's, and we understand why we were all created. So when you speak about a village, this is a very prominent, significant village to our African American community. And I don't think that I would be who I am without the village of historically Black colleges and universities.
Jaleel, let's dig a little deeper into village and talk about how your peers pushed you without you even understanding that you were being pushed by your peers.
You know, it's interesting that that was the direction that you want to take it, because when you're talking a village, my mind is just going to so many different areas, because you always hear, you know, for a child, right? It takes a village, you know, to raise a child, to bring a child up,
Yeah.
and to help them get into a really good space in life. And, you know, with me, it was different. And I'll be brief. You know, in Chicago in high school, I was captain of this, captain of that. I was a big fish in a little pond. You know, going to Virginia State, I was 800 and something miles away from home, in which I became a little fish in a big pond. And I actually wanted to transfer my first semester. A lot of people don't know this. I hated school. It wasn't that it was anything wrong with Virginia State. It actually was me.
Yeah.
When you leave home, right, and you go to any institution, or if you go anywhere for a long period of time, you got friends, family. It's so many people that you've left behind.
Yeah.
That you're trying to adapt, grow, and then push yourself forward. And so it wasn't until my spring semester, I'll never forget, me and my mom was talking, and I was like, you know, I want to just transfer. Like, Virginia State's not for me.
Yeah.
And she was like, you know, we'll give it one more semester. Let's give it a full academic year. And if you still want to transfer, we'll figure it out. I said, okay.
I'm with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
that's fair.
And that's fair, right? And I think that's the fair chance. But what she did was she gave the village an opportunity to pour into me.
Yeah.
And so that spring semester, I joined an organization called the Student Liaison Outreach Team. And it's a community service-based organization that did a lot of things at Virginia State. And so now I have a village. I have people that are away from home that I can kind of lean on. I mean, going 800, almost 1,000 miles from home is different. You know, Chicago is
it's different if you're 20 miles away, but you're with new people, right?
Right.
So the space
Right.
is different. Yeah.
But Chicago is this.
Yeah.
I'm in Petersburg, Virginia. I don't know if any of you've been.
Right.
It's a different space. And I mean, you go from Chicago to Virginia. I mean, just even being a Black man, it's just so much of an adjustment.
Yeah.
But the village that I had with that organization, and then next thing you know, I joined SGA. Going into my sophomore year, I had one organization under my belt that was a social org, and then I was SGA vice president. So I'm like, okay, we might have something here. At that point, to answer your question, Dr. Felton, that's when people were pouring into me that I didn't even realize were. And it wasn't until after I graduated and I needed help kind of starting my business and trying to piece it together from a branding standpoint and just things that I just didn't know about. The people that helped me actually were administration from Virginia State University, that I was having meetings with them and they were helping me piece it together.
Yeah.
On, hey, this is how you talk to other universities. This is how you maneuver. This is how you move. Like, I mean, even at the time, one of the board of visitors was Daphne Maxwell Reed. And Miss Reed was like, Jaleel, this is how you should go about it. And so I am forever grateful for Virginia State because it not only became a family for me in a village, but Virginia State taught me how to adapt in any environment. And I think that's the key that a lot of people don't talk about at HBCUs. Yeah, we got the financial aid office and we have those things that we got to duck and figure out. But I think the piece that is so essential is HBCUs force you they force you indirectly to adapt into the environment that is there. So that way, when they let you go, you're able to adapt in any environment that you're going into.
It is exercising a different muscle that you may or may not have used, but one that you will certainly need.
Correct.
Before you leave.
Correct.
You know, when I think about, and first I want to say to Travis, I have one word for you, brother, maven. It means expert or connoisseur, right? You are an expert or connoisseur in connecting people. So that's the word, a descriptor that you should put into your repertoire, because I've seen it in action. You are what folks would refer to as a maven.
Thank you.
Yeah. So and you guys all are doing that. You're mavens. You connect people to make magic happen, right? That's some good stuff. But what you try to do, I was the SGA president at my alma mater, Edward Waters College, and I was a non-traditional student, and so I kind of knew how democracy was supposed to work as a older non-traditional student, and sort of helped people navigate through those skills and trying to help them figure out how to get things done. When you guys were in school, as we moved from the space of incubation or village to incubation, when you think about the challenges that you had and the administrators and how you felt about administrators then, as opposed to how you feel about administrators now, what that no sounded like then was it guidance then, or was it, like, are you more receptive to those lessons and those challenges or experiences that you had now? Do you see them differently now?
I do. I realize that sometimes a no to what you wanted to do was also like a yes to what you needed to do. And then also there was an administrator specifically named Dr. Judy Rashid at A&T. And the way that I began my company was I got disqualified from being SGA president spring of 2010. And I cried and everything because what I was at A&T, I was a very big leader, very big student leader. Everybody knew Travis, and I put my significance in a position, in a title, right? And Dr. Judy Rashid, which was my mother at the time, like I would legit take students that believed in me, and I would take them to Dr. Judy Rashid so that she can pour wisdom into them. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Judy Rashid, when I was got disqualified, I went and talked to her because she always said something to the extent of SGA is not a major, student leadership is not a major, and she said, why are you upset when you have the opportunity to graduate in 4 years as a Black man? And that just took everything away, because I had to realize that I was still Travis P. Jackson on that campus with the position or not. And then the same day that I got disqualified was the day that my concept for HBCU Pride Nation came into play. So it was really a benefit for me. And then also when it came to some things as well, when the door closed, I knew that God opened up a greater door. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we settle for what we want and we don't go after what we need, and also what we've been equipped for. Yep. Because we think that we're going to win and what we're settling for and what we're comfortable with, when God has something way bigger, way greater than anything that we can plan for. So when you ask that question, yes, sir, most definitely. And then just to be able to see the difference, because the mindset that I have now, the way I present myself now, the way I do things now, I was nowhere near that when I was in undergrad or 5 years ago,
Yeah.
you know? So I understand the significance of what the administrators were saying to me back then.
Torrance,
Now,
DC is different, and Raleigh and Raleigh Durham is different, right? And then you make your way down to little old Greensboro, or what seems to be little old Greensboro, and then you run into this mecca, this huge city of North Carolina A&T. How important was it for your development as a young brother? Um, how important were the professors and the organizational folk on campus? How important were they for you and your development that ultimately led up to where you're at now?
Two words come to mind when you say that: tone and tact, right? They're such small, two four-letter words have such a profound impact.
Magnanimous.
Um, I think that it's funny. Actually, me and my co-founder, Jamaris Payton, we actually started another nonprofit organization because of tone and tact. But to answer your question, you don't realize what seems to be the common answer here, right? Even so early on, you don't realize what you're taught or what you're dredging through at the point that it's happening.
Mhm.
Right? No one realizes they're making history at that moment.
Yeah.
yeah,
You don't realize what you're going through, right? And so for me, it was uh, 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 professors and lecturers demanding the utmost and highest quality out of me, while also giving me leeway and understanding my socioeconomic status, things generationally, my environment, the current political environment, right? Like, it takes a strong person to teach and instill values and knowledge in you while also treading those waters.
Yeah.
Right. So for me to learn how to communicate effectively with them, to get what I needed from them, right, on two planes, which was them being a professor and helping me get to the next level, and then them helping me be a better person, right? Because the HBCU professor puts
hey, I'm
that
having
earnest into that. They put that in. Travis to go on mute. They put that HBCU professors put that energy into making sure you're a better person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in the end, that's tone and tact. It's really crazy that an email can have two components to it. And you knowing how to execute both components can be the deciding factor in whether you, as a unknown entity, are effective in your cold call or your what would be a cold email.
Man, look, you need to be teaching some administrators how important it is to navigate the email.
Right. So I'm grateful for my teachers making me do things that at the time I felt like was just my teacher, just being a lot, right? But in the end, right, 10, 12 years later, you find yourself talking to people like, man, I can do this and I can do that. And I finally realized that I can execute it easily because of what I did in college.
You know, that continuum of excellence was the standard. Like, there was no space for mediocrity. I just remember my professors, and even being at Edward Waters College, which, folks talked about the little old school on the north side of Jacksonville, right? And but the human capital that was at that space was just phenomenal. And one of the things that never felt good was their expectation of excellence. Even when I didn't want to give that, it was there. How fortunate are we to have that continuum of excellence shoved on us, forced upon us, even when we don't want it in this space? I know we're giving away some of the secret sauce, but how important was it for you to understand that you couldn't cut corners and excellence was demanded of you?
For me, I think that it was important, and it felt good, right? Because one thing about HBCUs, and I'm gonna take it back to the village, and I'm gonna tie it together, is that the teachers, your administrators, your presidents, chancellors, they all care, and they all want to see you succeed. So it's coming from a tough love. It's coming from when your mom or your dad or your grandmother or someone from back home that helped raise you or was around you, or even your close friends that was on your back, for lack of better terms, to see you succeed. You get that same love and affection from at an HBCU. I look at it like love and affection, because it's your way of saying, hey, yeah, you're here, but your mom left you in my hands. I got an example for you, Dr. Felton. Renee Welch is a prime example for those that are tuning in and who do not know Renee Welch. I have a best friend by the name of Darius Welch, and his mom, and he has a brother named Anthony Welch. And Miss Renee, Mama Welch, I was involved with their education, but the real reason that she trusted Darius and Anthony at Livingstone College is for people like Dr. Felton, who cared to make sure that, hey, there will be no cutting corners. There will be no just getting by. Your mother sent you here for an education. She sent you here to succeed, and I am going to take that responsibility and make sure you do that. Mm-hmm. And now Dr. Felton didn't have to. He has his own thing going on. However, that's the thing, that's the pride, the love and affection that you get in an HBCU. It won't be, the president may not necessarily have that effect on every student, but he has it on a few, right? But his vice president has relationships, and his other vice presidents have relationships, and then their teachers. So somewhere along the line,
there's a net.
There's a net that's going to catch you, not necessarily to baby you, but to help propel you in a way that some other universities may not, only because they care about what you do when you get out of here in your 4, hopefully, sometimes 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. But that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Shout out to Anthony and Darius and Dr. Welch as well. That's how actually Jalil and I got connected. So shout out to them. But you're right. The institution's product are the graduates. And so we, all of us, even you as alumni now, want everyone that leaves those institutions to be stock that has major dividends and returns, right? And so that's what that push is about, man. So let's get into this crazy idea of starting a business. What is that about? Like, where did that come from? How did that happen for you? Some would say HBCU pride, HBCU Wall Street, and yard talk is all the same. What the hell are y'all talking about? What is different? There's a lot of nuance to it, but I want to know what gave you all the gumption to walk into the shark-infested waters of entrepreneurship.
I'll let Trav go first on that one, because out of the groups, he's the oldest.
Yeah. So
you're on mute, Trav. You're on mute.
Okay, I'll be very, very, very transparent. So when I got disqualified from SGA president, I knew that I needed to do something, HBCUs, because it was a time where HBCUs was facing a lot of scrutiny, where mainstream media wasn't really giving HBCUs the props, respect, and the honor they deserve. And it was starting to have the questions, are HBCUs still relevant in today's society? And when I think about questions like that, it was like, are Black people still relevant? Like, you can't ask that when the HBCU gave us the opportunity. So I seen there was a need for people to have an avenue to show their pride of their institution. And mind you, I didn't know that I was uh, prepared to run a business or a brand as HBCU Pride Nation. I've been Torrance's biggest headache for almost 9 years. I've been Jalil's biggest headache. And the funny thing about it is that we all started together, like literally together, right? Um, we used to have like Wall Street with us, and then Jalil was also with us as well, you know. And Torrance more so taught me the relationship between me and Torrance. Like I like to prove Torrance wrong, but I've never really been able to, right? And he from the beginning, I was always like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I was getting like natural highs off of my likes, off of my engagement, off of people knowing me, this, that, and the third. But when it comes to the business standpoint, Source was always the business standpoint. And I'm like, bro, you're doing way too much. You're doing way too much. And it used to like get on his nerves, right? So when it comes to people that you're around, always be able to take in what they're saying, even to Jalil, because, and I'm talking about them more so because both of them was real big in the building of HBCU Pride Nation. Because all I wanted to do was travel and help people understand why HBCUs were important,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't know how to make money off of what I'm doing. I didn't know how to monetize. All Travis knew was I could go and open the door, I could introduce myself to people, and I could get you connected to all this greatness of a HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
Then Jalil's tenacity, and when Jalil is very, very passionate about what he's doing, it's like a whole different beast. It's like going from Bruce Banner to the Incredible Hulk. And I had to understand how to navigate that for myself because with that, and I give all my people love, right? That's what I know. That's how I live. Um, and then also when it comes to developing the relationships of HBCUs, the work that we do, HBCU Pride Nation, Wall Street, and Yard Talk, we don't want recognition for it, right? It comes to us, but we do it because of the love for Black people in HBCUs and the advancement of our people. And with HBCU Pride Nation, it's been a real journey. We're just now. Um, One thing I'll say is don't be your biggest obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be your biggest roadblock. Don't be your greatest critiquer, right? Because when you know that you have a team of people,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in your own organization or represent different entities, you know that you have a whole village. Like these two give us a lot of, and tell me when to shut up, because I can talk about this
So,
all.
well, what I was going to say in surmising what you said was you saw a void, you
Yeah,
ran to the void, and you filled the void. At that time, because I can remember 2010 like it was yesterday, in that there was this insatiable appetite to make us being HBCUs, explain to y'all being mainstream America, why we're relevant. I
yeah,
remember that, and it's there's symmetry with health, why health is here as well. But so I see you saw a void, you ran to it, and you filled it with really getting people to understand how much pride existed at our spaces.
yeah. Even to sleeping in your car to go to the NASEP conference
Yeah.
and being in the heat and all the sacrifices that went with it.
Hold on,
All of
we got a special segment for the sacrifices.
okay,
I want to get to the nitty gritty from these two gentlemen about what gave them the gumption to go out, and so I'm learning now that you were sort of like together and found different avenues.
mhm.
how did, Yard Talk and HBC Wall Street, how did that happen? When did you know that it was time for energy in a different space, doing the same goal, right? But in a different manner. When did that happen for you all individually?
I'll go. Let's see. I guess it's two sides of it for me. And I'll run through each one briefly because I'm the oldest out of the three of us, right? The first side is entrepreneurship was rampant and relevant at A&T's campus, right? Everybody around you was in it. I literally know people today that started businesses while they were in school, got degrees, but still run their businesses and haven't had to work a day job.
So hustling was a way of life.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, and I didn't even realize it, right? Like I was building websites. My co-founder Jamaris was, I think he was buying like bulk boxes of Black and Miles and then selling them by the singles, right? Just like anything we could do to generate cash.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we had friends that would paint sneakers. I mean, you're talking what, 12 years ago? I mean, a lot of the things that you can swipe and do now, you had to walk around campus and find someone to do. I mean, this is pre-Facebook.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Facebook didn't get popular until my senior year in college. I mean, this is pre-Facebook. I mean, we literally would walk through the dorms and say, hey, I'm Torrance. I live upstairs. We just started our power washing business. Do you need us to power wash your car? Right? And it would be normal for someone to knock on your door and say, hey, I edit resumes. I'm down the hall. Let me know if you need me.
Yeah.
So you lived and breathed this environment of, man, there's a lot of people around and you better learn how to get money from some of them.
So you had no choice.
Basically.
Because the village was an incubator for entrepreneurship, and it was so pervasive that you not only could you see it, you could feel it at A&T. That's what you're saying to me.
And so the other side of that is funny. That was a perfect segue. The other side of that is the formation of Wall Street, right? To add to Travis's background, so I was running another startup whose purpose was to let students create business plans online. Walk them through creating a store. And then when they sold products, they would then be able to print out a P&L to go to a bank and get a loan, right? And the idea was to do all of this in college, right? And so at that time, I was doing basically all of the tech operations for HBCU Pride Nation. And so I had this product over here that I was getting customers. I mean, the product was like $1,000 package, but HBCU Pride Nation had a lot of followers, a lot of them, right? This was when HBCU Pride Nation probably had like 40,000 and I had like 4,000, right? And so I'm talking to Travis one day. I remember it. I remember the day. I was standing in line at Sam's Club and I called Travis and I said, yo, let's combine it. Let's put it together. So Growtuity combined with HBCU Pride Nation is what became HBCU Wall Street.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people know that me and Travis used to work together. And I also have me and Jamaris have our things over here, and me and Travis and Jaleel kind of all make this ball of HBCU stuff, right? But we actually, for about 3 or 4 months, were a division of HBCU Pride Nation, right?
So, but you guys right now are feeding each other and
of course.
Yeah, this is a brotherhood for real.
Every day, every single day. And so what I saw in college, the other side of entrepreneurship, people who build things do them out of necessity.
Yeah.
The best platforms, the best products are built out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
So me designing those websites and Jamaris selling those Blacks and Miles, that's because we needed money. It wasn't because we wanted to be cool.
Homecoming was coming.
And so what I saw when I graduated college was, first off, nobody's talking about money. You have a whole generation of financially literate individuals sending a second generation of students off to college for 4 years. Those students leave that school with no more financial literate information. They might learn economics and calculus, but they can't maneuver through.
Travis, Jaleel, where y'all find this dude at, man? Where y'all find this dude at, man?
So
It's a secret weapon.
They leave school and still don't know anything about money, but now they owe somebody $40,000.
A whole lot of it.
So what we did was we started a group me and an Instagram page that grew to 20 or 30,000 followers in a couple of weeks, and maybe 1,000 people in a group me in a matter of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And you had people that were 18 years old to 58 years old. You had millionaires and you had people who were dead broke, all just talking to each other about experience, about money, and about how to all, even though we're getting on the train at different stops, get off of the train at the same space in the end. And that's to be wealthy and own real estate, land, have businesses, and graduate college with no debt and cash generating assets. Right. And so we teach this. We have practical platforms, life insurance, HBCU realty, we buy properties. We had HBCU movers. We were paying students to move. They could start franchises. All of that was born from the environment with which I lived in every day in college.
Wow.
It had two sides. I saw people getting money, but I also knew that Black people don't know money. So what can I do about it? And what can I actually have people do? And thus was born HBCU Wall Street.
So service.
And then
service.
Right.
Not
right.
to just thyself, but to mankind was also a current theme I'm hearing from all three of y'all. I love it.
And then another thing, Doc, my bad, Jay. Me and Torrance met in Moore Gym on A&T's campus. I ain't know who T was, but we closer than ever today. So for students and people at HBCUs right now, never underestimate the value that somebody that you're just meeting on campus could bring to you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And you know what, Trey? That's a perfect segue into
perfect segue.
Thanks, Travis. So
my story is different. Entrepreneurship, I did not know what I was signing up for. This entrepreneurship life has probably been by far the hardest thing I could have ever done. I mean, I'm not a parent, so I haven't had to raise children.
Yeah.
But it's equivalent to there's no words to explain, the drive that you have. But Yard Talk 101 came about because Travis and Torrance had already graduated college. I mean, I got to school in 2010. So they had, by that time, was on their way out. And so I'll never forget, it was 2013, spring of 2013. We had some young men die in the Appomattox River because of an off-campus organization was hazing. And that was what I did not realize was the downfall to some extent of not. I'll take that back. That's kind of big, but it was a spiral of negative
series of unfortunate events.
Thank you. That's what it was. Series of unfortunate events for Virginia State. I did not understand that was the first of many.
Yep.
Now, spring 13, I got elected SGA president of Virginia State. Now, when you become SGA president or vice president or president of a university, you have a pride.
Yeah.
At that point, you're like, about time, I'm here, different. And now you want to implement whatever programs, anything, because you're the head honcho. So you're able to say, this is what I want to do. Let's figure out how to make this happen.
Yeah. And
one thing for me was pride. In school, I was like, man, A&T got the family doing their thing, like Howard, Hampton, HU. Like, I was just like, yo, where does Virginia State fall in this, right? Because we're not small, but we're not big, but we can step with the big dogs. Yes, and so I wanted to figure that out. But however, there was another plan. So I come to school in the fall, everything's starting off okay. Then we get to football season. Next thing you know, we see Winston-Salem State in the championship. And for those that remember, Stephen A. Smith had us blasted on ESPN because there was a brawl that had taken place. Okay.
Was that at the banquet?
No, that was at the banquet for the CIAA football championship game in the bathroom. Yes. And so, boom, another event. Then we had a brawling on campus. This now during homecoming. We had a brawl on campus, a stabbing on campus. I was like, oh my Jesus, right? And it will mess with you when you're in a position where you're really trying to turn that corner, be positive, be a shining light. I mean, parents were removing students out of Virginia State. Like enrollment went down. Yeah. That was when I really seen the effects of our actions, how they really have an effect on the university.
Yeah.
But what really bothered me was the news. What bothered me as SGA president was all of these HBCUs have greatness, just like any other institution. Mm-hmm. However, when you catch us with our pants down, you're blasting it. It's broadcasting. You're gonna make sure the world knows.
Yep.
And that bothered me a lot. And so what we did was, I'm a creative. I'm a visual learner, visual thinker. That's my space. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do like a press release, like something dope though, not a just typical, hey, I'm Jaleel Thurman and shit. Nah, let's do something different. And so what happened was I got, at the time, it might've been Mr. Freshman, not Mr. VSU, but a couple of Royal Court members, but they were all poets. And what I decided to do was address the media in a different way through poetry. And I'll never forget Kondwani Fidel, who so happened to be my Neo now, and doing his really good things in Baltimore. He said, you guys call us thugs. He was like, yo, but we're tough, heaven-sent, underprivileged gladiators. And that always stuck with me. And so I did that went viral, that went viral with the school. Yeah. They ate it up. I was happy because I was like, okay, cool. We changing the morale because this is going into finals and
changing the narrative.
And we're switching it.
Yep.
And so great word there, Doc, narrative.
Yep.
So when I came back in the spring, I said, I want to change the narrative of HBCUs because there is no one or no entity right now doing it in a video content strategy way. I'm like, everybody's more so photos, getting content from the school, but how can I tell the story of the university?
Visually,
right? And so what I went about it was, Yard Talk was created in 2015. I took a Hits on the Street vibe, going to campuses. Dr. Felton I'm here with Dr. Felton, and we at Wiley College. Dr. Felton, now look, let's talk. And that was because I wanted you as president. I wanted you as the president to tell the story. I wanted you to control the narrative for the college or university that you represent.
Man, that's brilliant.
And so it started off and the thing about entrepreneurship, and I always tell people, just get out there.
Yeah.
Like, just get out there. This was 2015. And I didn't have a microphone. I had a camera. In my first episode, you heard the wind, you heard the cars driving by.
You figured it out.
But I was doing it, right? And I always tell people, just get out there because you're going to grow as long as you stay consistent. And now today I host and produce a TV show that's nationally syndicated.
Yeah.
But 5 years ago, I couldn't see that. I just was like, hey, I want to do this. And then over the years, my company has grown and I've changed the whole infrastructure now of what I want to be able to do.
If heart is pure and service is at the forefront, you're going to win, period. You may take some lessons along the way, right? The crazy people want to call it, L's. And put a negative connotation on it, but there will be some lessons.
Oh, definitely.
As an SGA president, I want to say this before we pivot. I led a small campus revolt
Okay.
with my sponsor, Dr. Jimmy R. Jenkins Sr. And the food in the calf was messed up. And as the SGA president, we raising Cain, and we decided that we were going to call the media. And I called the media. We called the media. The media came out happy to do a story. And we're on the 5 o'clock news, and I'm, got my little 15-second clip and this, that, and the other. And I'll never forget the very next day, President Jenkins called me in his office and he said, "How you doing, yo man? You have a good day? I saw you on the news yesterday. Talk to me about that. What did you learn from it? What value did it add?" I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. And he said, "Do you understand that you were just used to perpetuate a narrative that is untrue? Do you understand that the forces outside wait for us to implode internally and then they come in like savages and finish us off? Like, do you understand that you gave something away that wasn't theirs to have?" And he reiterated the notion of simple communication and this notion that we are wearing the same jersey. Nobody wants you to be angry, right? What the boiler is going to go out in these old buildings, right? And the president shouldn't be the target of all your angst. It's 100-year-old building. The damn boiler was going to go out at some point in time. You don't need to get on Twitter and diminish the brand. You don't need to get on Facebook and diminish the brand. Those lessons came, and I'm so grateful that he was the adult and I was a student, and he treated me as an adult, even though I was an adult, but he treated me in a way that suggested these are kids. They don't mean harm. They need guidance. Let's figure out how to get them. The lesson in that is about what you were talking about, Jaleel, is this pride, this whole notion of pride and how we really control our own destiny and how we have to be cognizant of the fact that the media and those who wish to perpetuate a notion that is untrue will be happy to come in and say, look at them. They're just little black schools with little black people who are second class and don't really know how to do what they do, right? That's a narrative that some would be happy to push, perpetuate, and keep forward. So I'm really happy to hear you guys talk about how you navigated those things. Now you find yourself on this road, and Jaleel started it, and he talked about growth. He talked about the beginning and what it looked like. People behind you push you more than you really want to admit. Does that resonate with you guys? Like the next HBCU Wall Street, there's some young freshman sitting in the corner right now looking at what you do. And there's some dope sister, Jaleel, thinking like, yeah, I could probably take a microphone and get me some gear and do what this cat is doing. Travis, the same. How much does it drive you knowing that there are folk out there wishing to replace you or hoping that your demise actually would happen?
For me, interesting enough, I've never thought of it like that. So what's always motivated me was a term, is simple: dreams come true. And the reason I say that is because we live in a space where people are afraid to take that leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
They are afraid to invest in themselves. Sometimes it's unfortunate. There's always unplanned pregnancies and just other responsibilities of things that come up that, whatever life throws at you, it causes you to sometimes navigate or pivot that is not going to the finish line. And so for me, it's to be able to be that light for someone out there that wants to be the next Jaleel Thurman or Travis or Torrance or Dr. Felton, right? Like, I want to be able to live my dream so that my sisters can be like, you know what, if I put in the work and I do it, and it's not going to be easy, but my brother or my friend or Jaleel sacrificed it all to be in a space to where he is now, it's worth it for me. So I don't look at it from a standpoint. That's what motivates me more so of, if somebody wants to be the next me, okay, do it. Let's go. I'm competitive, so you better come with it. Yeah. But I want people to understand that it's not easy. And whatever I'm going through, I'm not the first person to go through it, and I won't be the last person to go through it. But I also want to be able to show my story and give a testimony to where someone feels comfortable enough. You know what? I am tired of this life. I quit my job last year. It's 17 months. I'm 16 going on 17 months, full-time entrepreneur. And I quit because I got tired. Like it gets deep. Like you get tired of working a 9 to 5. You get tired of doing certain things that just don't make you happy. And so I want those people that are in that same space that have an opportunity to chase a dream or go after something but they're scared. Hey, I want them to be like, well, Jalil did it. And you know what? He's telling his story. And because of his story, I'm going to go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, Torrance.
It's not easy, but I be yourself, right? Like most people's IG page and their Facebook page and their Twitter feed, it's a manifestation of your thoughts. As soon as I meet you, I go right to your page and scroll for like 10 minutes and formulate an opinion of you. Okay, cool. Right? So
and how spot on are you with that?
Well,
pretty good.
Well, I think I'm real spot on because I think me and Jamaris purposely do everything that we're pushing out to the masses. If we tell you to start a business, it's because we started. If we tell you to set up this type of LLC and have your kids own it, it's because I got one, right? So if you're doing things and you like you said earlier, if you're moving for the greater good and if you walking in your light and your purpose,
you
realize your calling and everything else is on the back of you, right? You're gonna progress. If you give the world positive energy, it give you positive back.
It comes back.
Just let people just live and share it in real time. Right?
I walk religiously and in the mornings for exercise, and it's one of the greatest gifts that I've ever given myself because of the freedom from everything, the phone. But I get a chance to think, and what you just said made me think about a thought that I had this morning which was my question to people is, what sermon are you executing? What sermon are you executing? Like, we talk good games, but what can people demonstratively see that we have done? That is the sermon, right, Torrance? That's what you were talking about.
Well, I think for the three of us, it would be something akin to purpose, right? I mean, as you have stated so eloquently, like this is hard, right? Like this is not a game.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to build a following, something that's going to last when you're not here, something that will employ people, right? Like it's not for the faint. Like creating an Instagram page and getting a GoDaddy website builder set up is all cool and it takes 20 minutes. But to really build an organization that has operations and payroll and has to file taxes takes work. And sometimes you're going to get pulled from the side like, you know what, I should drop this. Or I shouldn't do this that way. Or should I do this at all? Right? Believe it or not, I've never said this publicly. In the last 6 or 7 years, there have been 2 instances where me and Jamaris thought about basically stopping HBCU Wall Street. The very next day, literally, somebody calls, I don't know, the NBA or some HBCU or somebody's like, hey, we need you guys to execute what you've been doing. And we get on the phone and it's just like, it's almost like the Lord is like, y'all tripping, get back to your calling. Go back over there, right? And
art,
right,
service.
So that purpose, Entrepreneur life is one of purpose. And if you're a social entrepreneur, like I have been for the last 15 years, everything you build is for someone to help themselves. You have to know that people are watching you. They're going to DM you and say, how did you do that? Tell me exactly. Right?
So Travis, I want you to speak for the three of you really quick by answering this question. Can you help people understand that if you wanted to quit, you couldn't?
Mm.
Oh yeah, I
Wanted to
definitely
quit
can.
HBCU pride, you couldn't. And tell them why.
Um, well, you say speak for the three of us.
I say that because I almost believe that all three of you have been in that space. And I've started a foundation as well, so I kind of know what the answer is, but I want to hear from you all, like, what
It's
keeps you going when you want to just stop?
um, first and foremost, that's a great question. Secondly, our brands are bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
We know that we have a lot of people that's watching the work that we do. We know that we are impacting a lot of lives. We know that what we're doing is God given and God driven as well. We've put in the work, the sacrifices. I know you said you had a segment for that. We've put in the work, the sacrifices. We've had to go through hell and high water, adversity that made us strong, and to be able to assist those that are coming behind us to navigate into their own realms, to be able to start their own organizations, their own platforms. We have done the work of not only being on social media platforms, but we also go to the people. We're not individuals that are, you'll see Jay on TV, but then you'll also see Jay in the streets and helping others. You'll see Torrance on every conference or doing creating any platforms that he needs to create, but you'll also see T out there in the streets helping people. You'll see me put doing what I do with these hands on any platform that I have, but you could also touch me at the same time.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to this question, there's 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 an amazing responsibility that we have for those that come after us, but sometimes the stronghold that we may have is those that are in front of us may look at us as threats, and therefore they don't want to give us the access that we deserve, because nothing against HBCUs or any administration or anything like that, but we as our entities, sometimes we have a greater grasp on HBCU culture than some HBCUs have on their students.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the power that we have, Dr. Felton. And we can't quit what we're doing because we have been through the mud. We have done what we have to do. And we want people to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, nothing that we do, we want recognition for.
Yeah.
But whenever anybody try to dim our light, God has a way to make us shine. You understand?
Yes,
And
sir.
it's just it's what we do. Like we wake up every morning to inspire people, to empower people, but also love ourselves. This
Mm-hmm.
work is greater than anything. This work is greater than us. And when we die, this work will still be here.
Yeah.
And like I'm sorry to be so passionate about it, but when you ask me about my brothers, that for the work that we do, this work is so amazing. It's so rewarding.
Just
It's
want
so challenging.
to add
It's
something really quickly to that
go
before
ahead, dog.
Jaleel goes, right? The first thing is you can quit what you become. You can't quit what you are,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
Like you can, if you become an accountant or you become a mechanic, you can quit that any day. But if the Lord made you a connector or a helper or a prophet, you can't quit that. You can pull yourself in 1,000 directions. You will always come back to that one direction until you
Yep.
and embrace it at full capacity. You're gonna keep taking those L's, as you were saying.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Second thing is a manifestation of this being bigger than us is Damaris's recent book, right? So HBCUnomics, right? That is our own economics. That is our own education. We actually have a book and a forthcoming curriculum that teaches all the cool memes we've been putting up for 5 years, all the things we shared, all the things we said you should do, all the ways, all the condescending memes that you feel like are talking to you because you didn't do this last year, right? Like we actually created what's going to be a forever living curriculum to teach Black students finance, money, wealth. That's way bigger than me or Jamaris or Travis or Jaleel.
Yeah.
Jaleel?
Everything is bigger, man. It's and my bad, Jay. Go ahead, big dog. The way that I see it, Dr. Felton, what we see as small, God sees as big, and what we see as big, God sees as small. And what I mean by that is sometimes just the smallest things that we're doing, like getting out of our bed and just putting up something. To us, it could be we're just posting, but to somebody else, what you posted just changed their entire life.
Yep.
And then also what we see as big in terms of our platforms being how they are and being impactful, God could be like, oh, that's a seed. That's a seed towards what I truly have for you in the future. And he gave us these platforms to be able to catapult into the real gift and the assignment that he has for us for our lives. This is our purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, Pastor Jackson.
I'm gonna say that.
I ain't it, that P is for pastor. Okay. For me, have I wanted to quit? Yeah. I mean, plenty of times. I think it's, but I think what keeps you from not quitting is a pride. I think it's a love that you have for what you're doing or what you want to do. It's not a job, right? It's not, I don't look at this as a job. I look at this as a career. I look at this as I chose this for myself, and this is what I want to do with my life. And so because of that, instead of quitting like a job, right, I take a step back, I get in my feelings, I take a day, debrief, do whatever I need to do, and refocus.
Yeah.
Have conversations. I mean, I go to therapy, I have a spiritual advisor. I have to have different ways. And I encourage anyone, if they to go to therapy, have someone, have a space. I mean, Dr. Fun, you even said it yourself, walking in the morning, that's your space to clear your mind, refocus, and understand, okay, what do I have for my day? And so for me, that's what I do. I want to quit. I think there's nobody that's never not wanted to quit, but something that somebody's always told me is the people that are successful, they just never quit.
Yeah. All of that you all said, but I also want you to think about the fact that it ain't yours.
Right.
It's God's work. Like
Yeah.
the reason why that stank won't come up off you is because it was put on you by him. And what people don't understand, first of all, there are some endorphins that are released when there's unconditional giving in the atmosphere. When you're giving and there is no desire to get anything back from it, that's a different type of feeling, right? And you all know what that's like. And then you put on this notion of service. Like I'm legitimately here to help. That's not, people don't wake up wanting to do that. That is something that I think is impregnated by God and fueled by Jesus. Right? That's what I believe about.
That's his next shirt.
That's I think that's what servitude is really about, man. Like
Say that again, Doc.
it's impregnated by God and fueled by Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I just think that I know that entrepreneurship is different. Like, health, I probably spent 40, 50 grand. I'm a president. What the hell I need to be worried about another president for? Why do I need to be worried about somebody that could potentially take my job? Because it ain't mine, right?
Mm,
Health was something that was impregnated by God, and Jesus, my faith, my connection to him reminds me of every day that I was put on this earth to be a black college president and to make sure that the pipeline is replete. I'm clear about that, period. And I'm willing to go to the end to see it through. It's just
yes,
that
sir.
simple.
And
So
I come on.
everything that you guys said basically was what I just said with a sanctimonious little twist to it.
So eloquent.
You did that. You did that, Doc.
Yeah. So eloquent,
But
Doc.
but you guys are doing the work like this. So I don't I you know what I love about this conversation is that while I know that you've had struggles and challenges, every time that I've said something that may have even had a connotation of subtraction to it, your responses have been additions. Your responses have been about the positive. And I don't want anybody to walk away from this thinking that there will not be challenges, and that there aren't any challenges. Rather than really talk about all of those challenges, what would you say, each of you, to a person who is sitting with an idea and they are thinking of a master plan, and paralyzed on executing that, just can't move, won't move, scared to move, whatever it is? What would you add to their space? What would you drop into in their spirits, as it relates to getting up, get moving, and getting going?
I would tell them to case it. That means copy and steal everything.
Hmm.
What a lot of entrepreneurs, or what most first time entrepreneurs don't think about is that oftentimes you don't have to build something new. You can just put your spin on what's been validated, right? Like one of the entities that I have is basically the Black Airbnb, right? I didn't, when we built it, we didn't work at making it this new and other thing. Why? Because there are 40 home sharing platforms on the internet that have already been validated.
Wait a minute, you have a home sharing network?
I do.
What's the name of it?
It's
That's
called
Terms Read.
it's called Noirbnb.
Airbnb.
Noirbnb.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I mean, I just dropped like 5 grand down somewhere. So tell me that again now.
Noirbnb.com.
Okay, that's what's up.
So you don't have to always come out the gate with this new mega new thing.
Yeah.
Like maybe pick something that people already buy, already use, that funders and VCs have already dumped millions of dollars in. Replicate it with yourself because you are the sauce anyway. You are going to be the reason. If I was running Yard Talk 101, it wouldn't be what it is. It's what it is because Jaleel is running it and not me. So it doesn't matter if Jaleel decides to copy and make Yard Talk Wall Street tomorrow. It ain't me, right? So find something that's already working, that exists, and see what they're doing because people are already giving them money.
It's crazy, Torrance. I'm reminded of the first person who believed in health. And it was a brother who I met through my day job. I was vice president for advancement at Livingstone at that time. And this brother, Reggie Bean, who is one of my best friends now, we're really good friends as well. But I called him up when we were talking about health, and I said, "Man, I got this idea and blah blah blah." And he's like, "Okay, well, when you get moving, give me a call." Like 2 weeks later, I had a website, LLC, had it designed, had everything. And I was like, yo, let me walk you through this. He's like, wow, come through like in a week. Got a check for 25 grand from Coca-Cola. But I'm in the parking lot, praising God, jumping up and down, going crazy. And he brought me back to reality. And he said, yo, you ain't the first person with this idea. You're the first person that acted on it. And that blew me away. And it speaks to what you just said about, casing. Like, think of something. And for me, I went to Hampton's executive leader thing. And I went to these places and I was like, there's nothing out here that speaks to me. And nothing that speaks to filling this void, this pending void for HBCU leaders. There's nothing out here for us. Yeah, you can go over to Harvard and you can go to MLI and you can go to all these places, but ain't nobody talking to us the way we need to be talked to about how we manage business. It's different. And that different isn't deficient. It's just different. And you need to understand how to manage this space. And if you don't, you're going to die.
I think for me, my advice would be to break it down. So what I mean by that is that Yard Talk 101, when I first thought of it, because a lot of times when people think of these ideas, right, they think of a big picture. They think big picture. My trees here, I'm gonna make the colors here, I'm gonna have birds chirping, whatever the picture is, right? But it takes a lot of manpower to paint a big picture. So what I suggest is well, in order to paint a big picture, you need paint first. Mm. So start with the paint. And the reason I say this is because Yard Talk 101 was actually a segment of a show. I'm gonna take you back 5 years now. When I first created the company or the thoughts, it was called HBCU Gladiators. It was a 30-minute show called HBCU Gladiators, and that had community, just segments. I pieced it together, had a team and everything. But I was like, man, that's just too big, right? For today, right? Because who's gonna sit and watch a 30-minute show that they haven't really seen, understood, been able to really wrap their head around? And so Yard Talk was actually like an open discussion within the show. And I said, you know what? I want to start today. And so I'm going to start today with just Yard Talk. And that's my focus. How Torrance was like, just find one focus.
Yeah.
That was my focus. So I said, you know what? I'm going to start Yard Talk. Now, 5 years later, HBCU 101 is a 30-minute show that Yard Talk 101 is now a segment of. But I had to start somewhere. And sometimes we think so big of a picture that we got to piece it together. I asked Mr. Reed. Tim Reed is the producer, executive producer, actor, Norfolk State University alum. But he, a lot of people know him from being a dad from Sister Sister.
Yeah.
And I asked Mr. Reed, I said, Mr. Reed, what did it take to make like a movie, like a good show? And he was like, just do it. He was like, because it's not going to be right on the first episode. He was like, but you're going to keep doing it and then you'll get better.
That's why you have a second episode.
And that's why you have a second and a third and a fourth, because you're going to learn, I didn't like the lighting, or I had a mic right here, I need to put it over here because it's in the, like, you're going to get better. Yeah. But I think that for those people that are afraid to jump out there, another thing I would like to add is that if it's on your heart, I tell this to anybody, if it's on your heart, that's God's way of talking to you. Mm-hmm. And the difference between some people is that they act on it and some just leave it on their heart. Mm-hmm. And so whatever the idea is, whatever the thought, no matter how small or how large, God put it on your heart. Mm-hmm. So just start. And then you'll get to that bigger picture at some point, but just jump out there. It's fun. It's fun.
Travis?
Wow. I love these boys, bro. I love my brothers.
Yes, Mr. Lil.
I'm gonna take a completely different approach. So I have a quote that I live by, where it's you can't be Superman or Superwoman to everyone else and kryptonite to yourself.
Mm.
And a lot of times we try to do everything for everybody, and we don't have anything to show for it. I had a conversation with David Banner one time, and I asked him, how can I be a greater leader? And Banner said, by not focusing on those that follow you. And what he meant by that, because I was like, what is you talking about? And he said, Travis, if I have 5 people that are hungry and I have 5 pieces of bread, when I give this bread out, I have nothing for myself. But if I create a bakery full of bread, I could then take care of a community and a world. And when I come back, I have an abundance. A lot of times we are our biggest obstacles. There's been a lot of times for years where I've been hard headed, where I've been my own biggest obstacle, where everybody would shake their head. Um, I've been through team members. I've said no to certain things that I just didn't agree with. I was egotistical. I was in my own way, but there's been people that's been through that whole journey with me. And when you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to really understand that you are the vessel and you may be the face, but it's never yours, right? And understanding that just because you're the leader doesn't mean that you're the leader all the time in the front. You have to serve those that are on your team that God has surrounded you with. And now that I have a team and I'm working more effectively, I appreciate the journey that individuals have been on with me to
Yeah.
teach, right? And understanding the power of relationships. I wouldn't be where I am without my brothers, without supporters and people that genuinely loved Travis for Travis and not for what Travis does. And I thank God every day because self-care, self-love, self-confidence, and just the love of who you are and meant to be goes a very long way.
Yeah.
For real. And know that failure is one of the greatest ingredients for success.
Yeah, no doubt. It's some good stuff. It's hard going down, but it's good for you. I think what you just touched on, Travis, is really more than a notion. Like people don't understand that when you are managing anything, to be honest with you, you have information when you're at the top or when you are the president or this, that, the other. You might have information that's different from everybody else's. But it does not mean that the information that everybody else is bringing you merits not the same level of credence that you have. Leadership is some tricky stuff. I would say SHIT because it sounds better to say leadership is some tricky shit,
It is.
as it is, right? And it's so difficult to get just the right balance, the right tone and tact, even as Torrance said at the very beginning, when you're dealing with people who are friends, when you add in that ingredient as well, it makes a different dynamic. I want to, as we cut across the field, as my pastor would say, as we transition to let you guys leave this evening, I do want to say before we go into these last 10, 15 minutes, that I did ask Jaleel. So for all the sisters that are out there, to
Ah,
find 3 or 4 sisters who are in the entrepreneurial space to have an all-female panel as well. You know,
Oh yeah, most
very-
definitely.
I've been thinking. I ain't forgot you, Doc. I thought
Okay,
about it today. I've been thinking.
You gotta have the
that
diva
because
files up here.
equity matters to me. You know what I mean? Equity matters. So I don't want any sisters to think that look at these idiots up here and not having the voice of a woman in the room is disastrous. Period.
I got you. It's here.
I appreciate that. So I just wanted to put that out there. Um, what do you hope? What do you hope for? Not just the work that you're doing, but for the broader populace of HBCUs. What do you hope for HBCUs? Yeah, heavy, heavy. That ain't your wheelhouse. Your wheelhouse is what you do every day. That question right there. What do you? I mean, you know what?
I got an answer for you.
Ready? You ready? Floor is yours, sir.
Seriously, I wish they would just get back to what they were, right? And that's part of what Jameris's HBCUnomics is, right? Shameless plug. But no, I wish they could get back to what they were. They were incubators. They were the catalyst of change in the community. They were the space from which the Black middle class was born. They were everything to this country because Black culture is world culture. We are usually the driving force in every political, financial, socioeconomic change that happens, whether it's a cultural change or a literal legal change.
Yeah.
Black people are the shit.
The footprint is indelible.
Yes, and so we need to get back to that, right? And what I mean by that is what you had in the past was when the universities thrived, it permeated outward to the immediate community. Now what you have is the university thriving in the middle and the community around it deteriorating, or you have the community around the school thriving and it deteriorating in the middle. And the community around the school thriving could be gentrification, it could be new construction, it could be bonds, it could be rezoning, whatever. There are several reasons why a school could not be growing and 100 yards away, it looks like a community is thriving, right? That is happening around all of our universities. And so the universities have to get back to understanding the wealth of talent that is walking around every day. And I'll give you a practical example. And I know there may be some, you being the president may understand this, there may be some liability and insurance things, but there are architectural engineering students on campuses, right? Why aren't these students involved in the landscaping care of the university, right? Like, and I won't go, I could give you 1,000 other examples.
Yeah.
Right? Like that in itself, the school paid less for lawn care. The student started his business while he was in school. The community looked better. I mean, there's 50 other positives of that, right? The school was an incubator. It was a birthplace of excellence, as you stated earlier.
Yes, sir.
Consciously that. Mm-hmm. Wasn't consciously an employee machine, right? It was more of a citizen creator, right? And so I think we need to get back to that. And that's a lot of what we have based our practical platforms and applications that have came out of HBC Wall Street around actually allowing students to not only be more fiscally confident when they graduate school, be in less debt, create businesses, help the community, make the schools thrive. It's not hard, right? It's not hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like it. Travis?
State? Oh, so I promise you this gonna sound like the most politically correct answer, but I'm being so serious, right? So there was a time where I went to Miami with Jaleel, right?
I don't want to hear this.
And we got done with I think it was Florida Memorial University's homecoming at night. 10 o'clock at night, Doc. And I thought that we was about to go to sleep. And I literally saw Jaleel drive 10 hours straight to go drop me off in Charlotte to get back to Virginia. And all he had was 3 Red Bulls. And I wish that I want HBCUs to know not to give up, to keep pushing the meter, understand the value that it has, that it deserves, and just to, even when you get tired and you want someone else to control your narrative, just as Jaleel may have wanted someone else to drive that car, to just keep pushing. Even to T, you heard when he got on here, I said that's Steve Jobs. I want HBCUs to become technologically savvy and advanced the way that my brother is, because a lot of HBCUs are so far behind. And I feel that that is one reason why some may look at us as inadequate at times. And I want them to be innovative as him. He will create a whole radio station, whatever, out of his head in 24 hours.
So he can create anything.
And for myself, I want HBCUs to love who they are, to impact the world, be selfless, and want the best for their students, their graduates, and open the doors as I do for my village. And for HBCUs to lead effectively the way that you lead Wiley College.
Yeah, because Doctor came in there.
There you go, Travis.
Doctor came in there and shook it up a little bit. He did some interior design, some new landscaping. I've been to Wiley. I've been to Marshall.
Let me tell you something.
I've seen what he's done.
We got a team here, man.
You know, I know some people on the team. Shout out to Shaq, Darby.
Yeah, Shaq, Darby,
Yeah.
everybody, Dr. Lundy. Yeah, man.
I think for me, and this is, and I don't mean this in not a negative way at all. I think that in relationships and friendships or whatever, we all have things that we could do better, right? And it's the thought of just having the uncomfortable conversation in which we could do. So here's my hope, Doc. As an entrepreneur that works within the HBCU space, I find it intriguing and interesting how difficult it can be.
Now we preach.
To work with an HBCU. Like Dr. Fun, you have been, and well, you, Dr. Warmack, President Abdullah, Lalon, like you all have been a breath of fresh air. And that is me being completely transparent. I did business with Emmanuel back in Harris Stowe. Then we went to business in Florida Memorial, and then we did business again at Benedict College. I did things with Dr. Warmack at Harris Stowe, Claflin, Virginia State. I'm an alum. I've been able to do things like that. Dr. Felton, we've been able to connect through Darius and just other ways. But there are so many HBCUs that could benefit from our services that we can provide, but potentially will use or work with a company that didn't come from them, that doesn't believe in what they believe in. And it's so mind-boggling to me at times because of the ideas that we have. If we work together,
it's a wrap.
You can't stop us.
Nope.
I mean, that's the real reality. Is the three of us here, between Trav, Torrance, and myself, we all have, like you said, it's a nuance, it's some similarities, but there's difference, but we can work together. Mm-hmm. I put proposals together and I don't even talk to them. And I have HBCU Wall Street and HBCU Pride Nation in my proposal. And I'm talking about Cigna and the NBA and major, I'm not talking small talk. When I'm talking to major corporations about my brand and what I can do for them, I also include, oh, Capital One, let's do a financial literacy tour. Oh, with HBCU Wall Street. Or, you know, with Cigna, I have, you know, HBCU Pride Nation that has a social media following that can help engage and do X, Y, and Z. Like, as young entrepreneurs, we are willing to work together to advance each other. But when it comes to HBCUs, we don't get the same love all the time. And it becomes frustrating because HBCUs want us to invest our dollars back into our schools. But
Go ahead, boy.
But HBCUs have dollars that are allocated by the state, allocated by whatever, and they can actually help us propel. But we're lifting as we climb. Doc, when I met with you, I showed you an idea that I said, Doc, listen, because you took a chance on me, I guarantee, I sat in that office right there and I told you, because you're taking a, Doc, this is my word that this product, you don't even have to worry about. You could correct me if I'm wrong, Doc.
No.
But it's because you invested in me, I want to reinvest back into you and what you're trying to do. And I don't think presidents and chancellors and VPs sometimes see the value of the smaller entrepreneurs and what they can really do for the university at probably half the cost that another entity is charging.
You say
You said what?
You say non-black entity. Can you make sure you add that in there?
Non-black entity. I apologize.
Yeah, and they can't reach them like we can, man.
So to wrap it up for you, Doc, my hope is that presidents like yourself come and your colleagues start to come together to figure out, how do we support our alum? How do we support our students, our alumni that care, that eat, sleep, and breathe what we're trying to do? We are trying to make your jobs easier. I'm creating a whole concept that eliminates a lot of your need for certain things so that way your enrollment can stay up. Right. But it's like, I need help from the university when I'm sending emails and I got the Sean Carter Foundation wanting to do something, but I can't get a response.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, so for me, Doc, it's that hope and wish that we will turn the corner in being able to work together and for a common goal.
Yeah.
Want to hear something that might be a little frightening to you? Our foundation, when it started, you know, I would get messages, and I'm highly accessible. And I would get messages from people excited about being accepted into the foundation, only to be told by their supervisors that that's not a real leadership organization. Or why are you going there? Why don't you go to CASE or MLI? Or I don't even know what that is. What is that? What is a health? These are Black colleges.
Right.
So
we hate on each other.
So we are not enough for each other. Robert, is it Johnson? What's the Black billionaire?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Robert Johnson said.
Robert Smith, was it?
Yeah, Robert Smith said at Morehouse that he wanted us to realize that we are more than enough for ourselves.
Yeah.
We don't put the same amount of value on the ice water that is made over at Virginia Commonwealth as we do at Virginia Union University.
Right across the street.
We don't do that. And we inside the space are the ones that are adding the value. We are the ones that are placing the value. So I say to you all that you have to keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I know the frustration. I know the anxiety around getting people to understand that This is going to help you intrinsically and extrinsically. This will help you, and it will help me help myself, which will create this cycle or this ecosystem that allows for everybody to flourish. But the self hate that exists in our space is real. I mean, there's no way to get around it. If you are honest, you have to be honest about that as well. My pledge to you all is to make sure that every health institute that we have in June and December, I'm going to make sure I invite you there, and we're going to fly you there, to get you there, however, and put you in front of VPs for student affairs, VPs for business and finance, presidents, so that they can see who you are, right?
Thank you.
And I think it's also about exposure. And I know we all want our job to be easier. And if we can do what I watched Jimmy Jenkins do all day long, the first thing he would ask is, who's in that pool? Do we have any diversity in that pool? And that was his way of making sure that we always, when we were hiring contractors, that we gave minority contractors an opportunity. And if all things were equal, guess where we were going? Plain and simple. It was just non-negotiable. But he commanded that the product be excellent and demanded that the product be excellent. So all things being equal, it is what it is. Why not help a fledgling organization? And you know, we are not there in our space. Look, I can't get some HBCU presidents to call me back. It is what it is. There's a tier system in the space that you know, it just is what it is, but it does not deter or stop. I just recognize that people might be busy. They may not have recognized the name. I don't know what the problem is, but it happens on every level. So keep that passion, funnel it into finding different ways to get into the space. And that's what I would say to you. Be angry about it, but use that anger or that passion to find a different way. Because you have a sympathizer on every campus. You just got to find that person. And once you find that sponsor on the campus, it's a wrap from there.
So to that point, what we've been doing is going up the other ladder. At first, when we all got started, we would say, you know, as every HBCU student does, we say, okay, we're going to hit our resources. That means every administrator and every director we know, right? And so as time elapses, you become a further removed graduate.
Oh, absolutely.
Harder and harder for us to come back to the campus and show the students that what the university is trying to produce can be done. Voila, I'm standing here, right? And so what we ultimately had to end up doing was going through the students. We would get the administrative affairs, external affairs, SGA, SUAB, all these entities that were tasked with bringing external organizations to the campus to do good and show good for the campus weren't listening. So we just start, okay, I'm on Instagram. Let me DM the SGA president and ask them, are they interested in bringing us to the campus? Then we didn't have to negotiate anything else. They literally got the room for us. They picked the day, we showed up. We might didn't have the 350 person auditorium, but if I can change the lives of 7 students, then I'm good with this visit, right? And so that was how this is how we've been functioning basically for the last decade while doing free marketing for the campuses, having to utilize the students and not the operational infrastructure that can make requisitions and that can add things to line items and budgets. We've been having to go through the students who don't really know how these things go, right?
You know,
But then what's correct?
this This is really, really good to hear. So I think what you guys need, well, you have already made inroads at some places, but I pledge to make sure that you're at Wiley, and again to make sure that with health with the foundation, that you're able to see a bunch of people, and
Oh, thank you.
from there, it's all on you. I definitely will advocate, but I think that's what we all need. And I think that's our responsibility to each other, for each other, and for the space more importantly. I'll say this, do not underestimate the power of that SGA group chat, that president group chat that's running around here in America, because that's powerful. These
You know
SGA
what's cra-
presidents are talking, and they can move the needle, and they can come back and say to the vice president for student affairs, yo, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to do it.
you know what's crazy about that? Me and Torrance created like the first ever group meet for student leaders, like years ago. You remember that, T?
Mhm.
And it was like 9 o'clock at night, and I was like, Torrance, we need to create this group. And in an hour or two, it was 300 people in the group talking to each other, and Torrance was managing it. And now look at what you just said.
That's dope.
That's the type of impact that we've been able to have.
Talking about is the one we created like 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Huh?
probably before NASAP. It was
Yeah.
before NASAP probably went to Savannah State because
That's what's up.
I was in that space. So I definitely remember.
That
Um,
group and say hi, guys.
yeah.
Yep. Hi, guys. And it's just,
That's what's up. That's what's
Well,
up.
I can't tell you how informative this has been and how inspired I am from having this conversation with you brothers. Like it is, the reason why I do what I do is because of this conversation right here. And I can tell you, I know that your presidents and chancellor have to be extremely proud of you for representing the banner that you raise high. I'm proud of you because you're in the collective space, and more proud because you are Black men who are effectuating change with service in mind. We all have to eat, but being able to serve people and make a living, that's a pretty dope combination. So, on behalf of the founders here at the Higher Education Leadership Foundation, Dr. Melva Williams, Dr. Alfred Anthony Pinkard, and my man Greg Dees, we're grateful. We're grateful for you guys spending some time with us. Know that you have a sentinel and surrogate in us, both as administrators and the foundation. Um, we are connected from this day forevermore. And we'll just keep the group text that we have and keep that live and active. And I'm certainly looking forward to welcoming both Travis and Torrance onto the campus. Really interested in learning about Jamaris's book, and having Jaleel come back to Wiley. So I look forward to watching you brothers grow, and want to give you an opportunity to give some parting shots on your way out.
Sure. First of all, Doctor, thank you for having us. It's so funny. It's been quite a while since I actually talked to both of them at the same time, and it wasn't to find out whose flight's landing, or where are you on the highway, or or which building are we going to be in to present. Right? We haven't had a conversation in a long time, the three of us. So thank you for that. Um, if you don't do anything tonight, make sure you go to hbcwallstreet.com and hbcunomics.com. I mean, Jamaris has did an amazing job of not only writing a story of wealth, but it's a story about love, right? Love of community, love of your HBCU, love of legacy creation, and this love of blackness and self, right? And it basically will encompass the conversation we had tonight. You can read the conversation we had tonight on paper, right? So yes, thank you. Looking forward to working together.
Appreciate it, brother.
Did you want to go try?
Go ahead, Jay.
Well, Dr. Phil, it's been love since I sat in that office. I appreciate you for even wanting to have this conversation with us. Like Torrance said, it's been a while since all three of us have probably talked in the same group chat. We talk individually, separately all the time, I'm sure, but it's been a while, and I think it might even struck like hey man, it might be time for us to really figure this thing out. At least on my end, I can say that. Also, I want to say thank you for even caring enough to hear our stories, hear what we're about, get to know us, but then not just leave it there. You want to be able to lift as you climb. And that is so important for us, right? Because you don't have to. You don't have to say, hey, I'm gonna make sure you guys are at least in the positions to win. Now, it's on you to win, but I'm gonna open a door to doors, one door that can open many doors for us. And you said, you know what, I'm gonna do it. And one thing I know about you, Dr. Felton, is if you say you're gonna do it, I know you're going to do. I have no doubt in my mind.
Sure.
So I appreciate that. And then for everyone that's tuning in, make sure y'all keep up with this season of HBCU 101. Every Sunday, 12:30 Eastern on Spire TV, 11:30 Eastern on Central. 11:30 Central. Check us out at HBCU101.com and on social media, and of course, Yard Talk 101.
Oh man.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, A&T had to close it out. You see, I had to that geek, right? Dr. Felton, once again, from the conversation we had on our IG live, you said cut out the noise in the back and the real conversation that we had then and there. I appreciate you believing in us. I appreciate you believing in me. Thank you for being genuine. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for wearing your fitted with your suit. Thank you for you look smooth, man. You look smooth, bro.
I can't help it, bro.
But just thank you for listening more than anything. And thank you for hearing our stories. And just thank you for providing this platform as well.
Yeah.
To all y'all know, I am Travis P. Jackson. You can follow me at I am Travis.
Pastor? The
Pastor.
P for pastor.
Okay, let's do it. Jaleel coined it, so I'm gonna go ahead and run with it. But y'all can follow me at I am Travis P. Jackson and follow the brand, the great HBCU Pride Nation at HBCU Pride Nation. Stay tuned to our IG lives. Stay tuned to the things that we have coming up, and then stay tuned for this real big launch that we about to present. So I love y'all boys. Y'all already know that. My Jaleel and my Torrance Rudy, who is my headache. But thank you, Dr. Felton, more than anything. Thank you very much.
Man. We are grateful to have y'all. I pray that God increases the territory, and most importantly, that you stay, focused and fresh on the idea that serving man is more important than serving self. The riches that wait for you for being faithful and obedient to that are more than you can freaking ever imagine. I'm happy. I am a resource. The foundation is a resource, and I'm excited about watching y'all brothers, tear some stuff up, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate you both, both for being fearless and also authentic, being true to yourself. It's just a wonderful combination, man. So Y'all be good. Take care of yourselves, and I look forward to hearing from you all about the next steps. And I want those sisters, Jaleel. I need some sisters that are out here tearing some stuff up, so we can have Dr. Melva Williams have a conversation with them about their space and their walk and their journey. So, y'all boys be good, man. Y'all take care. And Jaleel, you got the year right, but you get everything about the year right, my brother.
Don't do that now. I've been keeping it nice today, Doc. I ain't saying nothing. You know,
You know that's what we do with each other. So
Doc,
it's
don't
all
do
good.
that.
Yeah. Go ahead and do what you want to do, my brother. Do what you want to
You
do.
know, we know what it is, Doc. You know, it's okay. January wasn't the greatest month that year. I'm sorry.
It was the first. It was the first.
But we had to come and clean it up before 1912. That's all it was.
Torrance, it was a pleasure meeting you for the first time, my brother. I look forward to just watching what you do, what your partner does, just watching it manifest into greatness, man.
Thank you. Definitely looking forward to flying out to Wiley. We can
Yes,
get
sir.
to the airport.
Yes, sir. You got to come into Sweetport.
Gotcha.
Shreveport.
You gotta
Yeah, no, don't do the Dallas and drive in. You got to come to Sweetport. You got to fly into Sweetport.
One of them.
Yes,
Sir.
it'll be the only plane landing for the day. But when you come through Shreveport, man. But y'all brothers take care, man. God bless y'all, and thank you again for coming out, man. I appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir.
Wakanda forever, my brothers.
Kind of forever.
All right, y'all be good, man.
All right, Doc.